So the Trump assassination attempt. You know, there are moments that define an era, moments in which everything we are collectively and everything we may possibly become balance on a single decision or a single event. Life and death, hope and despair, victory or failure, while they teeter precariously on a fine line. 1 inch to the left or right, one misstep or a twist of fate, and everything changes. It's these inexplicable moments that end up defining us. However, when these moments arrive, they are often ungoverned by chance, untroubled by luck. These are the moments in which a society earns the right to live or not. They earn the right to continue forward, or live to see the moment pass by without action. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and do so with all your heart." So I guess, as weird as this may sound to some of you, I'm asking you to find that heart. In this moment, we can change the entire trajectory of our nation. It's been offered to us and made possible by a gust of wind, quite literally. You know, fate is a fickle bitch. Sometimes it comes for you. Sometimes it's coming for somebody else, but unfortunately, there's collateral damage. For the man who lost his life, perhaps his fate was always one of heroism and love for his family. I mean, what can I say? It's tragic. Fate, 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 what can you say? Some believe in it, others don't. I once read that the universe is no narrow thing, and the order within is not constrained by any latitude. Even in this world, more things exist without our knowledge than with it. And the order of creation in which we all see, well, that's the order that we have prescribed to it. Our minds find the patterns. We order our lives, memories, events, and existential moments ourselves. We put it there, like a string in a maze, so that we shall not lose our way. We continuously try to create order out of chaos. It's actually a hallmark of political strategy. They prey on this idea, and of course, they prey on the fallible minds of humans, who they seem to view as their subjects, which naturally I reject. They do not pull the ultimate string that moves us. For existence has its own order that no man's mind can compass. We might not be able to explain what happened yet, and we certainly cannot explain what's going to come, but we can influence our path. As they say, some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Again, I ask you to reach for that greatness in your own way, accept it, and define your own path. I have always believed, and I still believe, that whatever good or bad fortune may come our way, we can always give it meaning and transform it into something of value. Well, we have that opportunity right now, and I believe we should seize it. For these wretched social engineers and power-hungry corporatists are trying to sculpt their future from our potential misfortune. So I say we turn the tables on them, rise above it. Cosmic momentum is on our side. Our collective fate has not yet been written. Or perhaps it has, and we are destined to revive the nation. Only time will tell, but I will say this, it's going to depend on you as individuals. So don't give in to the left's monstrous political takes, don't give in to the social destroyers that are continuing to wish death upon their political foes. Don't fall for the trappings of our nature. Instead, choose mindfulness, peace, and greatness. Let them, show their true nature to the world, and you, or us, will be the contrasting personalities. For when the masses are offered a choice between hatred, violence, and death, or love, honor, and prosperity, well, the choice becomes self-evident. When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have always been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall. Now, when I talk about peace, I'm not speaking about giving in. All I'm saying is that there's a better alternative to violence. Yes, we have to win the battle for the mind. As Plato once said, the price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. So, don't allow it. Do not bend the knee. As I said in the last video, you're alive at one of the most consequential moments in human history, so don't waste it. The one thing that we can all do and should do is speak our minds. I'm sorry, but there's no more room for the silent majority. You need to espouse what you believe in and stand by it. There's a lot of people that feel for some reason that they have to have the numbers behind them. They cower behind the fear of rejection from the group. Show them that they have it twisted. The numbers are actually behind us. Destroy the narrative and reveal the truth. After all, if you think about it, it's the establishment's most precious tool. You cannot let them define our future, full of technological subjugation and economic depression, and you can't let them define the narrative either. I believe they're having a hard time with that one anyway, for their narrative of the assassination attempt makes no sense at all. Literally no sense. This was allowed to happen, at the very least, and the story gets more and more absurd as more information comes out.
If really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Incompetence in this regard is not sufficient to explain the complete security failure on every level. This whole story is absurd. And thank God for the crowd videos, otherwise I kinda doubt we would know any of this. And I'm assuming you've been paying attention just as I have, and have seen all the failures in the security for this event. The current story cannot be explained by incompetence. There is just no way. And don't take it from me. I implore you to seek out videos of former snipers and military veterans explaining why this is all rather impossible. You know, without a hidden hand from the inside. Just keep in mind, people are going to try to make you sound crazy by claiming that you would have to believe in an all-encompassing conspiracy where everybody's in on it. And that is simply not true. It would only take one or two people at the top to ensure a lapse in one area. Or, you know, they could have just ignored intelligence on the threat, the old looking the other way type of situation. And really, maybe, just maybe, people don't really understand how things operate. Look, Secret Service is on location for days or weeks before an event takes place, and they scour the entire area, detailing every inch and every security threat. And you want me to believe that they missed a roof 500 feet away with a direct line of sight. And now, they're saying that they left that roof unattended on purpose because it had a slope, and they didn't want someone to, you know, fall off.
Should that roof have been secure, period?
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, you know, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, you know, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
That right there is such a terribly pathetic excuse on its own. But it gets worse, considering the roof that the counter sniper team was on has a steeper pitch. Look at this photo. Can't believe it, won't believe it. And that's because it's stupid on many different levels. Alright, so I have one more question about this roof. Why would the FBI go up there and hose it down, destroying evidence? I mean, first of all, you gotta be careful. He must have not gotten the memo about the slope, you know? He could have fallen off, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but with an attempted assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, typically that shit's gonna be locked down for forensics in any normal situation. They wouldn't just say, oh, it's over, hose it down and pack up. It's all just a little bit too absurd. And oh man, let's talk about the ladder. Yeah, this freaking ladder. At first, people were saying that it was a permanent ladder, which still doesn't make any sense at all, because Secret Service would have made them remove it, or they would have made damn sure that it was unapproachable. But I just read an article saying that he bought the ladder at Home Depot, and the receipt was still in his pocket, apparently. So, if that's the case, that means he brought it with him, propped it up, scaled the roof with local police and tactical teams inside the building. Yes, because that's another weird aspect. The police and tactical teams were inside the building as Trump was on the stage giving a speech. You know, instead of providing overwatch, I don't know, this is all ridiculous. You're supposed to be there running protection for the guy giving the speech. He's giving the speech on stage at that moment, and you are inside the building. Oh yeah, but it gets even weirder, because no one noticed this kid scaling the roof, apparently. However, it gets even more weird, because now they're saying that he was noticed an hour. I've heard 26 minutes, I've heard an hour. Oh, God. Okay. You know, I can't even figure out how to explain this to people. I can't even do it. I can't even do it. I cannot do this. If you believe this narrative, then I don't know what to tell you. There's something wrong with you. I mean, come on, dude. Let's just go with the 26-minute reference. Okay, so no one noticed, except for the fact that it's been reported that he was noticed 26 minutes before the shooting happened, and he was labeled suspicious. Hell, they even let him into the event with a rangefinder, and the sniper team took a photo of the guy using it. Still, no red flags apparently, just, you know, we're going to keep an eye on them, which they didn't. As I said, none of this makes any sense, and certainly cannot be explained by incompetence. I mean, at this point, I think everybody's really reaching with that narrative. However, perhaps, this is where the incompetence comes into play. Maybe, just maybe, they are too stupid to come up with a viable story for their intentional lapses, because these excuses are laughable. I don't even know what to say. I just came across this update too. On Wednesday, it was revealed that Secret Service was aware of the threat 10 minutes before Donald Trump took the stage, and they let him go out there anyway. This revelation was actually made during a Senate briefing. So they knew their shooter was up there, and they said, "Hey Trump, time to get on out there." That doesn't happen in any circumstance. And while we're talking about some of these other concerning aspects, I wouldn't mind throwing Victoria Nuland into the mix either. As you probably know, wherever she goes in the world, a coup quickly follows. Just ask Ukraine, or really, the entire continent of Africa. So why not the US too, right? This is actually from an interview 3 days before the event. Right here, Victoria Nuland says with a smirk, "I don't think Donald Trump is going to become president. If that's what Putin is betting on, he's going to get a nasty surprise."
Our economy, etc. So I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be president. So if that's what Putin's betting on, he's going to get a unhappy surprise. I think that is number one.
Now, given her history and everything we know about her, I'd venture a guess that she knew. And of course, she is still coming at us with that Russian narrative, even though it was debunked years ago and entirely fabricated by Clinton, the DNC, and guys like John Brennan or James Clapper. Anyway, I just thought that was all very interesting, so there you go. However, as far as I can tell, it's a two-pronged concept. Number one, you allow the area to be accessible. Simple as that, I guess. And then on the other side, it's really just about probability. They have set the stage for something like this to happen for 8 years. This includes their attempts to strip him of Secret Service protection entirely. And on top of that, the Secret Service themselves knew something like this would happen eventually. Let me take you back a month, and then we're going to talk about the psychological aspects. So, back on May 9th, Jennifer Jacobs, a senior White House reporter for Bloomberg, reported this, and I quote, "There's a petition circulating inside Secret Service that flags concerns about a number of incidents that indicate inadequate training. They also mention a double standard in disciplinary actions, and a vulnerability to potential insider threats." Yeah, let me read that last part again. There were concerns about a vulnerability to insider threats. Really makes you wonder, huh? So, what did I mean by saying that this is really about probability? Well, you propagandize the public until their minds become malleable, and they'll blindly march to whatever beat you desire. I'm sure you've seen this compilation before, but I kind of want to put it in here for posterity's sake. They've been setting the stage for this for a long, long time.
I don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there. Pull it up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, over 8 years. Now, the White House messaging is exclusively about how Trump and Republicans are an existential threat to the entire nation, to democracy itself, and whatever other buzzwords that elicit an emotional reaction. As we know, all propaganda relies on emotion. To swallow and follow, whether old doctrine or new propaganda, is a weakness still dominating the human mind. And yeah, it is, very much so. They prey on these psychological weaknesses. Now, once you get a group of people to the edge of the cliff, you just have to push a little bit further until an individual breaks. And typically, you only have to push until one desperate person breaks. You only need one. So you bombard the public with violent rhetoric, you claim Trump is a Russian asset or Hitler or any of the other crazy lies we've heard, and you repeatedly say that he's an existential threat to the entire nation. You praise people who vehemently oppose him and make crazy people believe that their life would have meaning if they stand up against it. Not only that, but you instill the notion that they would actually be praised as a hero for committing political violence. You know, standing up to quote-unquote fascism, which is always ironic because, you know, they are the fascists. And I'm not being facetious. They believe in public-private partnerships. That's the foundation to their entire green agenda. That's explicitly corporatism. I mean, these people don't even understand what they're talking about. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. My point is that it's all a perfect storm of psychological manipulation. They call it nudging. You just gotta knock down that first domino, and the rest, well, it kinda takes care of itself, doesn't it? You set the stage, locate a vulnerable and troubled mind, and create the conditions that allow it to unfold. That's it. And if I had to guess, pretty soon we're gonna get the classic FBI line. He was on our radar for months. So why would they want to push for a JFK type of situation? And well, that's because they tried everything else. The propaganda and the lawfare did not work. Yes, they ran out of options. And in their mind, the entire quote-unquote global order that they so feverishly fight for is threatened.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again? Shortly?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order. And he says it openly. Now again, it should be clear that many of these politicians, they present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism, between being loyal to your nation and being loyal to some kind of, I don't know, global government or whatever.
So, yeah, that's probably why they tried to kill him. Now, I believe this quote from the Davos crowd is very revealing. The agenda is a $50 trillion opportunity for investors. And so, that gives them 50 trillion reasons to want him out of the way. Never underestimate the lure of power and greed. They have been planning this transition of the world for over 50 years. This is actually what I was going to talk about before all this crazy stuff happened with Trump. Look at this chart. They have a timeline of events for every sector of business and governance mapped out from 2020 to 2050. None of their quote-unquote work since the late 1960s or 70s, well, none of that matters depending on how this 2024 election turns out. Yes, they have a plan to change the entire economic and political paradigm, and this plan is worldwide. And as Yuval Harari says, it's all over if he wins. So to end things, I'll say this. I hope you realize that everything just changed. And we're just getting started. If they were desperate before, well, they are even more desperate now, and that makes them dangerous. We are going to witness quite a few more crazy events happen during this 2024 election, so be prepared. And I hope you take heed of my message from the beginning of the video. Be the change that you want to see. Disavow the violence. We're not in a Mad Max reality just yet. Win those hearts and minds while we still can. Because trust me, you don't want the alternative. Once again, this is HelioWave. If you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if you want to. If you're in a position to, consider subscribing on Locals, or you could use PayPal. As always, make sure you disobey those true fascistas, and yes, I do hope you have a good night.